I'd like to call this regular council meeting to order. Would you all please rise for the invocation?
We meet to serve our community and endeavor to be worthy custodians of all that has been entrusted to us. Let us be concerned only for what will promote good government. May we bring to our council chamber minds that think and hearts that feel, so that in our deliberations we may display imagination, wisdom, and courage, and the will to do our work for the good of all.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. The roll call, please.
All members of council are present, Your Worship.
Thank you. A few announcements this evening. First of all, tomorrow is the opening day of the season at the Fort Erie Racetrack. It's 121st season. The races start at 4:15 p.m. I understand the weather's going to be fantastic, and we're looking for a large crowd there. Second of all, as you all know, there's excuse me, an election, a provincial election underway, and the advance polls in Fort Erie are open currently now until May the 30th, each day from 10 a.m. until 8 p.m. This is an opportunity for individuals to vote. It's the most important right that we have in a democracy, and doesn't matter who you vote for. We all have preferences, but it's important that you vote. It's a civic responsibility that we all have. The last week, I just wanted to briefly mention that last week the Transit Advisory Committee met and did discuss some of the changes that are going to be made to the routes and the direction of the routes forthcoming. That will be part of the minutes that will be made available to council, regular council meeting on June the 18th. And we're anticipating that there will be some changes that will be made probably the latter part of July, perhaps the beginning of August. So there are some changes that will be forthcoming there in response to some of the concerns that we've received. And also wanted to mention that Saturday, June the 2nd, the town is going to be giving away maturing trees to Fort Erie residents. There are 600 trees, about 3 to 4 feet tall, that will be given away from 9 a.m. until noon at Parking Lot 3 in the Leisureplex. Parking Lot 3, Mr. Cookett, I presume, is the one, the large one, so that would be facing the front doors of the Leisureplex. And they are different species. There'll be 7 different species. It's 1 tree per residence, so if you come, you only get 1 tree, and we're hoping that people will stick to that. The species will be cottonwood, red maple, sugar maple, silver maple, tulip, red oak, and linden. And the heights of these trees can vary. Experts will also be on site to help answer any questions that individuals might have with respect to the planting of the trees. They will include a town arborist and members of the Fort Erie Horticultural Society, the Burt Miller Nature Club, and Friends of Fort Erie's Creeks. Trees will be available in pots that will fit into the back seat of a car. And we want you, people that do pick up the trees, we're asking to give the tree a good home. The trees will be provided free of charge, but there will be a bin available for individuals who wish to provide a non-perishable donation in support of COPE. So that's Tuesday, 9 a.m. to noon here at the Leisureplex. That's it for announcements. There is an addendum to this evening's agenda, and that is the addition of a delegation, Mr. Jeff Hoover, with respect to reconsideration of the Environmental Advisory Committee decision relative to 3285 Thunder Bay Road. And he will be the 3rd delegation this evening. That takes us to disclosures of pecuniary interest. Councillor Butler.
Thank you, Your Worship. With respect to number 11, motion B, in regards to the EC overlay, as the property is partially owned by a company who does business with my company.
Are there any others? Madam Clerk, I'm going to declare a pecuniary interest with respect to item 3A, which is the minutes of the Community Gaming and Development Corporation. There are at least 3 organizations there, Crystal Ridge Community Center, Fort Erie Multicultural Center, Fort Erie Optimists, which I've done legal work for, and still do from time to time. So I'll declare a conflict with respect to that, and I'll ask that the chair be taken over by Councillor Butler. Are you still the acting mayor? And also when I do my motion later on in the evening. If there are no other notices of pecuniary interest, that takes us to notices of upcoming public meetings. So there's a public meeting. These are all June the 11th, 2018 at 6 p.m. here at the Town Hall. The first is with respect to a proposed official plan amendment and property rezoning 260 to 262 Gorham Road / 3854 Disher Street. The second is a zoning bylaw amendment, 1201 Ridge Road North. And the third is a rezoning bylaw amendment for 396 Ridgeway Road. Those, that starts at 6 o'clock, that meeting starts at 6. And the information reports for all three of those public meetings will be available on our website on June the 6th, 2018. That takes us then to the Regional Councilors Report. Good evening, Councilor Nunziata.
Good evening, Your Worship, members of council, members in the gallery. Just a few specific announcements, and then I'll open up to colleagues for questions or comments. In a submission made regarding Regional Official Plan Amendment 13 Transportation Policies, it was proposed that a policy be implemented at the regional level that the region will support and cost share with local municipalities in implementing sections of the Niagara Bikeways Master Plan that are within their jurisdiction with a priority for elements identified in the strategic cycling network. What that means is if there are opportunities here in the town of Fort Erie with respect to infrastructure improvements in our bicycling networks, then there's a cost-sharing program that's on the radar right now at the region. Why is that important for the town of Fort Erie? I'd like to think that the town of Fort Erie is ground zero when it comes to our bicycling networks with the Friendship Trail, the Trans-Canada, and the Greater Niagara Circle route. So we do have opportunities to further our infrastructure improvements when it comes to bicycling. I know it is a huge tourism boost as well. So I just wanted to bring that to council's attention. I'm sure staff is fully aware that that will be hopefully part of the new official planning amendments that are coming forward. On that topic, I just want to make special note that there will be a special meeting of council, and this is Niagara Regional Council. We have arranged for a July 5th, 2018, 4:30 p.m. meeting in Regional Council chambers to kick off and provide the public an initial opportunity to provide input on the new regional official plan. The special meeting of council is a requirement under the Planning Act and is normally held in the initial stages of the official plan process. So this is the first opportunity for the public to engage in the new regional official plan that's coming forward. So we look forward to those comments and certainly moving forward in that process. This week as well, Your Worship and members of council, I will be attending FCM. FCM is the Federation of Canadian Municipalities. Specific on my agenda and my radar are two motions that I brought forward at Regional Council that were fully endorsed and fully supported. One being improving the requirements for ID coming back and forth into the country via the Peace Bridge. So that motion was unanimously supported at Regional Council. I plan on bringing that forward and hopefully getting into the ministers that are responsible for the implementation of those policies. The other one was brought forward in 2016 and was specific to single sports books. Now, as you know, right now within the criminal code, there is no language to allow for single game sports wagering in the province of Ontario. So again, we brought that forward back in 2016. I know Niagara Falls Council and Mayor Diodati have been fully supportive of implementing a single game sports wagering in the province of Ontario. Why is this important? Well, not only would it increase the jobs and certainly opportunities at our Niagara casinos, but it may offer opportunities for the Fort Erie Racetrack to house that kind of operation. So I will be bringing forward those two items at FCM and hopefully putting them into the laps of the ministers responsible for those specific portfolios. That's all the information I have right now, Your Worship, and I'll leave it up to members of council with any questions.
Thank you, Councillor Nunziata. And I forgot to mention that last Thursday at the Regional Council meeting, the Regional Council did support the town of Fort Erie's resolution with respect to the Niagara Parks Marina, and there was one vote in opposition, but I think it was a misunderstanding. So there was a memo from both the CAO of the region and from the CCMA, the Council on Aging, and from the Ministry of Municipal Affairs, 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 and from I think it's a CEO as well of the Niagara Parks Commission, relative to the progress that's been made to date with respect to meetings with Infrastructure Ontario. Any questions of Councillor Annunziata? Councillor Lubberts and then Councillor Butler.
Yes, thank you very much, Mayor Redekop. Councilor Annunziata, just to follow up on your request for single sport wagering. I know I've discussed this in the past with some residents here in Fort Erie, and one gentleman in particular that knew a lot about wagering. And if it's possible, I know that it's a little more complex when it comes to wagering, and there's some issues with the U.S. and New York State not allowing wagering cross-border gambling and stuff. But if there's some kind of a pilot project that people would agree to, I would hope that you would ask that that pilot project be started here in Fort Erie, and maybe even at the Fort Erie racetrack.
All great comments, and I'll certainly take those forward. It's not uncommon to request that kind of initiative. I don't want to take credit for this. This is not a new idea. It's not a novel idea. This was a private member's bill. It was Bill C-290 that died on the House floor last year. We're hoping to resurrect some kind of action on that, and of course it takes political will at the federal government level to actually change the criminal code to allow language specific to single game sports. So absolutely a fantastic idea, and we'll be advocating very robustly for that initiative.
Anything further, Councillor Lubberts? Councillor Butler?
Thank you, Your Worship. Hi, Councillor.
Hey, Councillor.
Over the weekend, I was called to a couple of homes that are on Dominion, and there was a situation at 2404 Dominion Road where the contractors that are working in that area dug up portions of his lawn, took a tree that he actually owned and planted himself, and replanted it 2 houses down at a neighbor's location. So I took some pictures. I'm going to send them to you. Do you think that we can get that resolved and find out why that would have happened?
Absolutely, and I've been in contact with a resident on Dominion Road as well, and he sent me pictures as well. So
Awesome.
absolutely, if there is anything that we can do to lessen the burden when it comes to the incredible amount of construction that's going on Dominion right now, that's something that we're going to work with our contractors. So Beam Construction, Rankin Construction, those are the organizations on the ground responsible for the construction, but certainly the region does oversee some of the concerns that some of the residents and some of the growing pains that residents are going through right now. If there is anything that was done inappropriately and not to a standard that these residents should expect during construction phase, we will definitely look into it, and we will definitely rectify that situation. So you can pass that on to your constituent. If it's the same one I'm talking to, I've given him the same message. We're going to get a remedy and get a resolution for him.
Okay, awesome. If you can keep me posted on that, I'm sure it is the same
Absolutely.
exact resident. I don't believe it was Beam Construction, though. I have a sneaking suspicion it was the other company.
Okay.
Thanks.
Anything further, Councillor Butler? Councillor Nutt?
Thank you, Your Worship. To the regional councillor, I was contacted by a resident earlier today with concerns about speeding at the intersection of West Main and Stevensville Road. And he's asking for your assistance, as he said there was a police officer stationed almost directly across that was just typing away on his computer and not paying much attention. He felt that, you know, the cars were going quite fast, and it's a tight corner, and they were going around cars turning at quite a speed. So he's asking if we can reach out to the Niagara Regional Police Sergeant for the area and bring that to their attention, that especially now with kids, the nice weather, kids are walking, and in some of those areas there are no sidewalks. So
Absolutely, and Your Worship, you were with me. We were very fortunate to host the police board services here. Staff Sergeant Kim McAllister came before the board and certainly answered any questions that we had. She's been a fantastic partner when it comes to issues like this. Be more than happy to pass this concern on to her, and if there's an increase in enforcement that needs to take place, I'm sure Staff Sergeant McAllister will make sure that she remedies the situation. So I'll pass those concerns on. You've already passed on the information. I will pass that information on to Staff Sergeant Kim McAllister.
Any other councillors? Thank you very much, Councillor Annunziata. And that takes us to presentations and delegations, and the first is Dennis Hernandez Galliano. Good evening. Sorry.
Testing, one,
See,
two,
we're
three.
more familiar with that.
There you go.
than
Forgot the light. We're here to talk about Access Awareness Week, which is taking place this week. As we all know, it first started when Rick Hansen did his Man in Motion tour, talking probably more than 20, 30 years ago. And just to proclaim that this week is Access Awareness Week. We also want to say thank you to Council for your continued support from the past and then on, and then of course into the future. A lot of the stuff that we've accomplished as a committee ever since we've been instated in 2002 have, you know, without saying, has been because of the support of Council, and we've taken quite amount of pride in doing so. And for a municipality of our size, I think we've accomplished quite a bit. And I like to say that we are the loud voice in the region when it comes to stirring the pot a little bit when it comes to accessibility. So, like I said, small and mighty. So I take great pride in that. And of course, accomplishments such as, you know, the podium that I'm speaking at, and the closed caption, you know, during the council meetings, and reinstating the third fast van. The Moby mats that was demonstrated about a month or two ago for the upcoming construction at Erie Beach. I'm showing a blank here, but you know, stuff like that we've done in the past, and that's coming in the future. So just want to say thank you, and we also have some province-funded storybooks that have come out with, it's a 3-book series, I believe it is, and the stories that deal with stereotype situations with people with disability that I think for the most part most people would think, and they're geared and focused towards young kids. And I've been told that, you know, you are a grandfather, and as such, we would like to, you know, pass these on to you so that you can pass on to your grandkids, and so you can share these stories with them. And as you know, the accessibility, we believe that you know, information is a food for the brain, and of course, you know, if we teach our kids at a very young age, by the time they get to our age, that they have a forward way of thinking, and better our communities in the future, and you know, move on forward with what our plan is to make Ontario and Canada a little more accessible. So with that, I will leave this with Beverly. They're available at the town hall in the front, and if anybody's interested, just ask the wonderful ladies at the front desk, and they should be able to supply with that. Having said that, that's pretty much everything that I have to say tonight. So, I mean, if there's any questions, I'd be more than happy to answer them. Thank you.
very much, Dennis, and we very much appreciate the work that you and other members of the Accessibility Advisory Committee do in the community to help to alert us to some of the things that we can do to make life easier and more fulfilling for individuals who do have some accessibility issues. After I read these to my grandchildren, I want to know, does the library or either branch of the library or any branch of the library have these books?
I don't think so.
We did pass the email on when the province first announced it. It's a Canada 150 initiative that they had. So you can only order 5 books at a time, but through the directorate, they actually sent us a box with about 75 books in there. So I'll reach out to Craig again, and if they do, I'm pretty sure they did jump on that, though.
Right, I'll follow that up,
Yeah.
and I'm very gratified, and I appreciate the gift, and I'm sure that grandchildren will very much enjoy this. But if the libraries have them, then everybody's grandchildren can participate. So
Correct.
thank you very much.
Thank you.
Before you go,
Yes.
are there any members of council that have any questions of Mr. Galliano? Councilor Basiro?
Thank you, Your Worship. Dennis, welcome again. I just wanted to congratulate you for your leadership in your long-standing term as chair, and also to say thank you to Bev Bradnam as well. You guys are the heart and soul of this committee, and I'm proud when I go to AMO every year and I get to speak with the Directorate of the Accessibility branch of the province. You said, Dennis, that you're kind of tops and you set the bar high in the region. You guys set the bar high for the entire province. They speak very highly of our group of individuals who donate their time to this effort, and it's the work that you do with your committee members and Bev does from the staff liaison side that helps set that bar high. So you should be very proud of the work you do, and I don't think that people realize the number of benefits that come from the work and the outreach and the lobbying that this group does. It's not people with, as you say, Dennis, impairments that you can see, but it's accessibility for everybody in this community, young, old, whether it's wheelchair, COPD, which is a hidden illness, blindness, anything like that. So you guys have really raised the bar high, not just in Niagara, so don't forget this. It's across the whole province. So thank you very much. Definitely an asset to our community.
Well, I appreciate it. Thank you very much. I just want to add a few things before I leave. I know that as an accessibility community, we don't have, I guess, the authority to go around and point out and mandatory with the private sector as far as accessibility goes, but we do encourage the private sector to approach us with any issues or problems that we may be able to help them out with, and we're pretty much with open doors. And I always have a saying that I say, that I've always been saying, that saying is accessibility is not about disability, accessibility is about ability. So, I mean, if you make anything, a building or a business thing that's accessible, you're giving that person an ability to be able to be involved in that, in their community. So, I mean, a lot of people look at accessibility as a disability portion. I think we should just kind of get away from that and look at that. You're giving someone the ability to do something. Having said that, again, thank you very much, and have yourself a good day.
Okay, thanks
Thank
very
you.
much, Dennis. This is National Awareness Week.
Yes,
You did mention that.
yes, I did.
Okay.
Just let me put this back up.
That takes us into our next delegation, John Rakich. Is it Rakich or Rakich? Rakich. Rakich. Good evening.
Thank you, Your Worship, City Council. You're actually one of the first persons to ever pronounce my name right.
Well, if you have a name like Reddicock, it's
So
a lot easier.
I want to thank you for the opportunity to speak this evening, and what I'm asking City Council for this evening is largely symbolic. The municipalities really don't have a lot of power when it comes to federal legislation, but I believe everybody got a copy of the Baldwin Resolution. And what the Baldwin Resolution was passed unanimously by the Township of Baldwin, asking the federal government to scrap Bill C-71, which is firearms legislation, and just simply enforce the books on the law. The reason I'm here tonight is because I've written my MPs, I've written Minister Goodale, Mr. Trudeau, and all I ever get in response to the questions, specific questions that I have, is we're just doing this for public safety. It's always about public safety. And I'm a firearms owner myself, as there are many in the community. And as a matter of fact, we, especially in this community, we have a very rich heritage of firearms ownership. The Sportsman's Trap Club was in operation since 1954. I just went out there a couple of weeks ago to see what was going on and take my kids out. I have 3 children, they all shoot. And so part of what my issue is, I guess, on behalf of law-abiding gun owners, is how we're treated as second-class citizens by our current government. We're frustrated with being consistently vilified by government and the media. We are, as a community, we're highly compliant. We're continuously vetted. We have background checks run on us every day, every year. If I were to do anything today, tomorrow, the RCMP would be at my home looking for my firearms. Every day I have a background check run on me. There is no other citizen that lives in Canada that is continuously vetted like firearms owners. We are actually, 1/3 less likely to commit crimes with firearms than average citizens that don't own firearms. So in saying that, I'd just like to share a few quotes from an analysis and submission that was done on C-71 of the Federal Parliamentary Standing Committee on Public Safety and National Security by Gary Mauser, PhD Professor Emeritus Institute of Canadian Urban Research at Simon Fraser University. Excuse me, I'm just a little bit nervous being up here today. He states that he's concerned that Bill C-71 is founded on faulty assumptions that ignore the real problem of violent gang crime to focus exclusively and unnecessarily on law-abiding firearms owners, individuals who do not pose a threat to public safety. The problem is violent crimes, not firearm ownership. He also states that there are many egregious problems with Bill C-71, and he says, in essence, this bill is a red herring intended to distract the Canadian public from the government's failure to deal with gang violence. He also states criminologists agree that no substantial evidence exists that legislation restricting access to firearms to the general public is effective in reducing criminal violence. There's other things that I have in my notes that you have in the submission that I won't necessarily say, but I think it's safe to say that gang members don't really abide by the law. And so the more laws that we pass, the less that it does to lessen gang violence, and the more burden it puts on law-abiding gun owners. So he summarizes his testimony by saying that Bill C-71 is a red herring. The real problem ignored in this bill is gang violence. And evidently, Bill C-71 doesn't even mention gang violence. And that was one of the planks that the Liberal government ran on when they ran. They said that they would deal with gang violence. He said Bill C-71 focuses on licensed firearm owners, PAL holders, not violent criminals. Hunters and sport shooters are not the problem. Legal guns are not a major conduit for criminals to get guns. He says the public is not at risk from law-abiding gun owners. He also states in summarizing that the additional regulatory complexity created by Bill C-71 will increase demands upon government services and increase costs to taxpayers. This can only reduce public safety. And the last sentence he states is that the problem is violent crime, not gun crime. When will the government get serious about gang violence? This is what he said in his submission. CEO and executive director of the Canadian Coalition of Firearm Rights appeared before the committee as a witness, and he provided testimony on the analysis contentions that we have on this bill, as well as to refute some rhetorical debate that had occurred within the committee proceedings. As part of his presentation, Mr. Giltaka's presentation, as an example of the lunacy of this legislation, he highlights the revocation of the long-term authorization to transport needed for a licensed gun owner to take their handgun to a gunsmith to have it serviced, for example. Now, what the Conservative government did is they took all these requirements that you had to call the RCMP for every time you wanted to move your gun if it wasn't to the range, and they tied it to your firearms license, and they said, basically what he's saying here is the government trusts me enough to have handguns and to go back and forth to the range with them, but they don't trust me anymore to go to a gunsmith. So now I have to call the RCMP, I have to make an application, I have to get a piece of paper from the RCMP, probably 2, 3 days, 5 days, before I can actually move that gun to a gunsmith. But they trust me to go to the gun range. So they think that somewhere along the line I'm going to stop somewhere and perhaps sell my gun over to a gang member or something. That was basically his testimony. Another lady from the CCFR did a submission on domestic abuse, because every year we hear from the massacre that happened at the university in Quebec about how domestic violence is a problem in this country, and no one would dispute that fact that domestic violence is a country. But I'd just like to read a couple of quotes from her submission there. She said, "My name is Tracy Wilson, and I am an avid hunter, sport shooter, mother, and grandmother." A grandmother who shoots. And she said, "I've been monitoring the committee hearings for C-71 so far, and there's significant emphasis on domestic abuse and the safety of women. Something I've heard repeatedly or in different variation are statements like based on my research or in my experience, and then a percentage figure like 26, 32, or 66%. She said the CCFR is a group that uses facts in our arguments, and that's one of the reasons why we enjoy so much support. And by the way, I am a member of the Canadian Coalition for Firearm Rights. She said we're a group that uses facts in our arguments, and that's one of the reasons why we enjoy so much support. We don't exaggerate data or fill the room with people holding signs to fool or guilt people into agreeing with our opinions. We don't think that that's a reasonable way to contribute to public policy. She said, the first thing I want to establish is that gun owners are overwhelmingly great people. We are highly vetted. We are monitored daily for criminal behavior. We are also people that want Canadians to be safe. And we want women to be safe. So this idea that if we don't agree with someone's bad policy suggestions, we don't want women to be safe needs to stop. It's divisive and leads to bad policies. The CCFR uses the Canadian government's own numbers to support virtually all of its positions. To cut straight to it, Statistics Canada reports consistently less than 1% of all police-reported incidents of domestic violence have a firearm present. And as I've said before on this topic, StatCan's definition of firearm present could be a firearm in a safe or in another room or simply at the address of the incident. So what is the real number? How many licensed gun owners are threatening their partners with guns? 1/10 of 1%? 99.99% of gun owners are not involved in this type of behavior, and our position is that they need not be punished for the acts of a handful of people who are already breaking the existing law. No other group of Canadians is forced to wear the collective guilt for crimes committed by the very few than the millions of gun owners in this country. Right now, if a woman feels threatened, she can call a safety concern into the Canadian Firearms Program. There's a 1-800 number for that, and action is taken. Call your local RCMP detachment and tell them that your partner is threatening you with a firearm and see what kind of follow-up happens. I actually have personal experience with this. My sister, at one time when she was going through a separation, she just called the police and she said that there are guns in my house that my husband that I'm separated from owns, and I don't feel comfortable with them being there. There was no threats made. There was no kind of indication of any kind of threats, and there were 6 police cruisers within 10 minutes at the house. That's the kind of protection and that's the kind of support that women in our community get from the RCMP, from the local police forces when there's domestic abuse involved. And she said, by the way, if the existing system is not working, then the answer isn't to create more regulations to not be implemented. If you truly want to make women safer, have resources to support women who are in abusive relationships. It's as simple as that. That's where resources need to be allocated. Bill C-71 does not make women safer. If the government had a bill that did that, we would be happy to support it. So for all of these reasons that I've voiced in this short presentation, and obviously I could probably go on for hours, and many more that I don't have time for, I'm asking this council to come alongside as a symbolic measure with the Township of Baldwin and the other 24 current municipalities and affirm the Baldwin resolution. And that concludes my presentation.
Thank you very much, Mr. Rockich. Do any members of council have any questions? Councillor Nutt.
Thank you, Your Worship. Thank you, Mr. Rockich, for your presentation. I'm wondering if you're aware of John Tory's recent comments regarding Bill C-71 and how he stated that he felt that the bill was very hollow. It didn't address any of the things that he asked for the City of Toronto, specifically to deal with guns, gangs, and violence.
Yes, sir, I am. And that's why I mentioned the fact that gangs is not even, the word gangs is not even contained in Bill C-71. I think we could all agree that we have a gang problem in Toronto.
One important statistic, just for the record and for complete clarity and transparency, I am a gun owner. I have been for a number of years. I've had my hunting license for a very long time. My boys also sport shoot, so with myself. I just, are you aware of the statistics that show you're 7 times more likely to be stabbed than shot by a gun owner in Canada?
Yes.
Okay, thank you very much. I just wanted to ask you those few questions and let you know that I'll move and support this recommendation under new business.
Thank you.
Are there any other councillors? Councillor Passero.
Thank you, Your Worship. Mr. Rockich, are you planning to make a similar delegation to other Niagara municipalities?
I've been asked to. And, you know, probably one of the reasons that you don't see people such as myself down here very often is because, you know, everybody's busy, right? And as I was driving down here this evening, I was thinking to myself, I need this like a hole in the head. You know, I believe I'm speaking for more than just myself. I believe I'm speaking for a lot of frustrated law-abiding gun owners. And I'm actually a member of the DeQ Gun Club I actually sit on the executive board of the DeQ Gun Club in I think it's technically Fonthill, but also technically Thorold, the old Niagara Regional Police Pistol Club down there. And I've been asked by the president to perhaps present this to the city of Thorold as well.
Someone has to take up the mantle.
I know.
You're that person. So I would encourage you to do that because regardless if it's symbolic or not, it's getting that message out and communicating those ideas. So I thank you for that. My grandfather, Eric Granzer, was a founding member of that 1954 Canadian Sportsman's Club. So I'm familiar with it. I know the safety, the ins and the outs. I've seen what hunters like yourself do and the appreciation that they have and respect for firearms. So I will look forward to seconding Councillor Met's motion when it comes forward.
Thank you.
later on. Thank you for your time tonight.
And just for clarity, it'll be a notice of motion. It'll be brought for June the 18th. Part of the predicament, Mr. Rakic, is that we deal with municipal matters. We don't delve into the federal legislation, so that you provided us with one version of, or one perspective of the legislation. I know that there are others because I've been, since we received your email, I've taken a look to see some of what's in there, so that part of our predicament is we would need more information. At least I would need more information, which I will look into.
Understandable.
If there's going to be a motion before council, I'll look into it. Are there any other councillors that wish to ask Mr. Rakic any questions? Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you. Thank you for your time.
You're welcome. That takes us to our third delegation, Jeff Hoover. Good evening, sir.
Good evening. I'm just here on behalf of the neighbors on Burley Road South. We're here to talk about 3285 Thunder Bay Road, the removal of dead ash trees. I'd like to speak on behalf of the abutting neighbors on Burley Road South and thank the Environmental Advisory Committee and the Town Council for allowing the EC overlay to remain in its entirety at 3285 Thunder Bay Road, and that ash trees will not be cleared from the property. Our concern with the removal of ash trees is that the scrub brush will be cleared to gain access to the dead ash trees and essentially clear the property. The property line along Burley Road is approximately 7 meters from the edge of the traveled road. The bush itself comes out to within 1 meter of the roadway itself. The property was listed and sold as possible developable property. We would hope the Town Council will not allow any perimeter trees to be removed until such time that a proper application for development has been received and the proper process has been followed. That's it.
That's it?
That's it.
Okay, so are there any members of council that have any questions? Councilor Passero.
Thank you, Worship. Thank you, Mr. Hoover, and I'm guessing these are some of the,
Yes.
if I see the nodding heads. So just to give you a heads up, I'm planning on postponing my notice of motion when it comes forward later on because I have not had the opportunity yet to speak with the property owners. And I'm hoping that I could maybe follow up through you on behalf of the residents, or maybe get together and just share with you what I'm thinking going forward. I think there may be a compromise to be had that addresses your concerns, but also allows them to do what I think is some critical work within the property. So I look forward to being in touch with you sooner. But I'm just giving you the heads up so you don't stick around for the next 20, 30 minutes until we get there. So it's not going to come forward tonight. I'm going to postpone it until June 18th.
June 18th. All right. Thank you.
Thank you for your time and thank you everyone.
All right. Thank you.
Any other councillors? Mr. Hoover, I don't know if you had an opportunity to read the minutes of the meeting where the property owner's representative made delegation to the council. That sets out somewhat what they were asking for. So they're not asking any longer for the removal of the EAC. they're looking for permission to clear those trees. I hear what you're saying. In order to clear the trees, they have to clear the brush. If they clear the brush, they affect the habitat. The Environmental Advisory Committee has indicated that they're prepared to consider something further than just clearing of dead trees along the road allowances, provided there's an environmental impact study. And my recollection is that the owner of the property indicated that that's what they would do before they would come back again and request clearance of the trees. But as Councilor Passero has mentioned, he's going to be requesting that his notice of motion be deferred to next month. That would be meeting at June the 18th, and that's when you may want to make yourself available.
Oh, for sure. And from what I read before too, though, he said he was gonna supply a drawing of tree removals. Did he do that or no?
That hasn't been done yet,
Oh, okay, hasn't been done.
no, but
Okay.
that's a part of the process as well.
Okay, thank
Okay.
you.
Thank you very much. And you folks don't have to stick around if you prefer to take advantage of the lovely evening, which we would love to do as well. Okay, that takes us then to the consent agenda. Councillor McDermott, you have the resolution for the consent agenda. There is one item that we'll have to remove from that package, and that is item 3A. Are there any other items that anyone wishes removed? Councillor Luberts?
Yes, thank you very much, Mayor Redekop. Could we remove item 2B, the region's natural environment report?
Yes, to deal with that separately?
Yeah,
Yep.
thank you.
Sure. So Councillor McDermott, that would be item 2B and item 3A are to be dealt with separately.
Thank you, Your Worship. Moved by myself, seconded by Councilor Butler, that council approves the consent agenda items as recommended, with the exception of number B, 3846-B, and 3A.
Okay, so that's 2B and 3A.
I'm sorry.
Does anyone have any questions or comments with respect to any of the items in the consent agenda? Madam Clerk, I just wanted to make clear that the minutes of the last council and committee meeting, May the 22nd, the announcement that I made with respect to the media release and then my comments about not participating in elections, it didn't mean to infer that I don't make the odd donation to a political party or candidate. So I think I'd like to make that clear. Yeah. I don't think you need to do anything. I just wanted to make sure that I've got it out on the public record. Does anyone else have any other questions or comments about any of the items that are in the package as it exists? Oh, there was something that I wanted to mention to council about the resolution from Township of Wainfleet. This was dealt with at the regional council meeting on Thursday evening, and there were two notable things that occurred. One was someone indicated that they didn't believe that the current owner was interested perhaps in selling the property. And the second one was a motion by a regional councillor that the property be, not this property, but the adjacent property owned by the region be given to the Township of Wainfleet. That resolution has been deferred for consideration because it turns out the region's property is worth $2.1 million. So that councillors wanted to get a bit more information before they started making a gift of $2.1 million of waterfront property when that wasn't even the essence of the resolution before them. What was before council was the resolution that we have at item 2D. Gift that keeps on giving. So I just wanted to clarify that for you folks. If there are no other questions or comments, all in favor of the resolution with respect to the consent agenda as amended? Any opposed? That is carried. I wonder then, Councillor McDermott, if you could move item 2B, which is the item that Councillor Luberts requested to be dealt with separately.
Yes, Your Worship, I'd like to move item 2B, which is to receive Niagara Region National Environment Project Framework.
And the seconder on that is it Councillor Butler? Okay, Councillor Butler. Are there any questions or comments about that? Councillor Lubitz, presumably you wanted to address that?
Yes, thank you very much, Mayor Redekop. When I was reading this here, I have a few concerns as to the whole idea behind it. And one of the things that I'm concerned about is the second that, and that the region is asking us to endorse the new region's official plan regarding environment. And when you scroll down and go into the second page and you look at the list that this year memo was distributed to, I don't see any environmental organizations at all, and I don't see Environmental Advisory Committee from Fort Erie or from Port Colborne. Yet you look at it and you can see that the Niagara Home Builders Association was on the list that this year letter was distributed to. And I don't mean any disrespect to the Builders Association, but I know that their agenda is to build wherever they can build. And I think that before we do anything with the environment and make changes to the official plan at the region, that we have a perfect understanding of where we're at with all the groups that are part of the environment. And here's a perfect example of one of the things I was talking about. I have a report here from there's a Great Lakes Nearshore Framework, and I've been involved in the last few months in going to meetings with the Environment Canada, and I've told our CAO about these meetings, and I encouraged our CAO to have somebody from the town go to these here meetings. Now, this report was from 2016, and they brought all the parties together to discuss our Lake Erie and our near shores along the Lake Erie shoreline. And I don't want to get into a whole bunch of stuff, but near the end, I just want to read one of the things they said. And part of all of this is part of the Great Lakes Water Quality Agreement that we all agreed with. And that's not just here in Canada or here in Ontario or the region. That's in the United States and Canada for all the Great Lakes. And it goes on and says, as recognized in the Great Lakes Water Quality Agreement, no single government or agency has the ability to achieve the agreement objectives alone. And that includes the Niagara region. They shouldn't be acting alone. Involvement and participation of state, provincial governments, tribunal governments, First Nations, Métis, municipal governments, watershed management agencies, local public agencies, and the public is essential. Successful implementation of the Nearshore Framework will require partner support at all levels. Communication, coordination, and/or collaboration with ongoing initiatives are essential. And when I read this here, I see a list of stakeholders, and not everybody is included. And so I don't think that we should be endorsing anything. I would like to bring forward a motion that we remove the second that, and that we take this report for information purposes only, and we don't endorse anything.
Well, Councillor Lubitz, just to be clear, this is something that was passed on as required by the resolution from the region, and it's categorized as receive on our agenda. So we're not supporting, we're not endorsing, we're not approving, we're not doing anything. But if you look at the body of that's the first point. If you look at the body of the report itself, it does talk about ongoing consultation with a variety of groups, including environmental stakeholders, the public, does say development community, agricultural stakeholders, area planners, et cetera. And it also makes specific reference to an Indigenous engagement strategy that's being worked on right now. So we're not we're not approving this, we're not endorsing it. All we're doing is receiving it because they've sent it out. And according to the second part of that resolution, it was to circulate it to local area municipalities.
Well, thank you very much, Mayor Redekop, for your explanation, but I'm reading it, and I'm reading it just the way it's written. And the second that the project framework and work program contained within report PDS 18-2008 for the natural environment component of the new regional official plan be endorsed. And they're asking us to endorse something, and I'm saying remove endorsed. We will receive everything for information purposes. And then I think that their list at the bottom should be increased to include the environmental advisory committees as well as any other agencies that need to be involved.
Madam,
I understand what you're saying, Mayor Redekop.
think you do.
But I read endorsed, and I'm bringing a motion forward to have the second that any endorsement removed from this resolution. We're not endorsing anything.
Okay, Madam, let me just go to the clerk. Madam Clerk, can you help us understand what it is we're doing here with respect to this report passed
Yes.
on by the region?
We are receiving this for information purposes only. We're not being asked to endorse, nor are we endorsing. If you look at the cover letter, it is being sent to us just for information that council, regional council passed this, approved the following recommendations. So they approved the recommendation to endorse the project framework and work program, but we are not doing so. This is their report, so we can't change their report.
And as that letter, the last sentence in the letter states, a copy of the report is attached for your information. So does that help you at all, Councillor Luberts?
If that's the way everybody sees this, I see it differently. But I want to make it quite clear that the Niagara region is acting alone on this. They're doing something, and they're trying to move forward an initiative from the Great Lakes nearshore framework. And I've been going to the meetings and working on that. I haven't seen anybody in there from the region acting on behalf of the region. There are some regional employees there, but they're not there to act on behalf of the region. And the region is doing their part, and look at their list of people that they're working with. Niagara Peninsula Conservation Authority. I don't mean there's any disrespect to anybody, but we have all seen the resolutions that have come across our desk. And the Niagara region, or the Niagara Peninsula Conservation Authority, has lost a lot of credibility in this here region. And for one, I'm not very happy with the NPCA myself, and I would like that a stronger environmental voice be heard. Then it goes on the North-South Federation of Agriculture. I've been involved with the Environmental Advisory Committee on this council for the last 3.5 years. I've never had any conversation at all with this North-South Federation of Agriculture. And then there's the Agriculture Policy and Action Committee. I would probably be pretty accurate if I said that most of the people that are part of these two organizations would be the farmers. And when our last meeting with the Niagara Collaborative, they admitted, the people that were there told us that their biggest problem is dealing with the farmers and trying to get the farmers to cooperate with nutrients being brought into our Great Lakes. And then you have the Home Builders Association of Niagara. Well, I don't mean any disrespect to them either, but we all need to understand they have their own agenda too. They're there to build houses, and we can go by what just happened in Niagara Falls. And they decided that they're going to allow a builder to go in and just ruin the wetlands so that they can build homes in there. It's a disgrace what's going on, and I just want that the Niagara region start including all the environmental groups and including everybody and start abiding by the Great Lakes Agreement.
Councillor Passero. Feel necessary. Okay. I'm going to call the question. All those in favor of the resolution to receive this report? None opposed, that is carried. Councillor Butler, may I pass the chair to you to deal with item 3 in the consent agenda?
Mayor Redekop,
Thank you.
I'd just like some verification because I put a motion forward to have it amended, and I didn't hear you bring that. So is it my motion that was passed or the resolution that's on the consent agenda?
Well, this is a regular council meeting, and you have to have a seconder for your motion.
Mayor Redekop, you never asked.
Well, let's go back.
Yeah, okay, that would be good.
So, let's
Yeah,
do-
because we should follow the rules of procedure.
If we did, Councillor Luberts, I would have cut you off when you were at 5 minutes. So you've put an
Well,
amendment on
then
the floor.
continue
Councillor-
following the rules of procedure. You don't have to worry about cutting me off. I've been there before.
Okay, look, I don't understand why you feel you need to be disruptive. So you've brought, well, with all due respect, you are. You've put forward a motion to amend a resolution to receive. Is there anyone that would like to second that? Okay, so there's no seconder. So we'll revote.
Well, thank you very much, Mayor Redekop.
You're out of
But
order,
no,
Councillor Luberts.
I just want to explain myself
no,
as
you're
far
out of-
as you.
you're out of order, Councillor
You're accusing
Luberts.
me of being disruptive, Mayor Redekop.
Councillor Luberts, you're out of order.
And you didn't follow the rules of procedure.
I'm going to call the vote again. All those in favor of the resolution 2B? Opposed? That's carried. Councillor Butler, may I now hand the chair to you? Thank you.
Thank you, Your Worship. Councillor McDermott, can you please move item 3A? Get a seconder. And can you please say who the seconder is? Yeah. So Kim Zanko, Councillor Zanko will second that motion, so we'll get that amended. Does any councillor member have any questions or comments with respect to 3A? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor? That motion is moved and carried. I'll return it back to you.
Thank you. That then takes us to new business and inquiries, and we did have a response to a council inquiry at a meeting on May the 14th, and I don't know whether, Ms. Dolce, do you have this? Okay, well, this is a response to an inquiry made by Councillor Luberts relative to some wording in the official plan. I think you should read that as a response to a previous inquiry.
Thank you, Your Worship. The inquiry was made by Councillor Luberts. The nature of the inquiry at the May 14th, 2018 council meeting, Councillor Luberts identified that the town's official plan was flawed as it referred to section 8.0, subsection 11, in the text under section 8.3 environmental conservation areas, and that no such section is within the official plan. The response: I have reviewed the official plan and have observed that only the reference to section 8.0 subsection 11 in the official plan in section 8.3 environmental conservation is a footer. A copy of the relevant section of the official plan is attached to this response. Therefore, the official plan is not flawed as it was reported.
Thank you. Councillor Luberts to respond to that.
Yes, thank you very much, Mayor Redekop. And again, if I remember the meeting, I had a copy, and I made a copy of what I got off the town's website and the town's official plan, and I couldn't find section or subsection 11. So I know, and I don't know that I said it was flawed. I just said that there was an error that needs to be corrected. And so if you can show me that section that it's not there, because I printed it off on my computer and it was there. I gave it to Mr. Brady at the end of the meeting. Unless it's been changed on our website since then, I don't know. But it was there, and and I couldn't find 11.
Understand that.
So if Ms.
I'll have
Dolch
Ms.
can show me 11, I'd like to see
I'll
it.
have Ms. Dolch follow that up with you. Yeah, and you'll distribute that information to all members of council. Thank you. That takes us to item A under new business. And Councillor Zanko, you have the resolution. We're going to have inquiries later on. We're going to do the new business items that are listed, and then we'll go to inquiries. Councillor Zanko, you have the resolution with respect to National Health and Fitness Day.
Yes, I do. Thank you, Your Worship. Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Passero, that council proclaims the first Saturday in June as National Health and Fitness Day.
Are there any questions or comments? All those in favor? None opposed, that is carried. The next item, Councillor Passero, you have, and that's with respect to Seniors Month.
Yes, Your Worship. Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Zanko, that council proclaims the month of June as Seniors Month.
Are there any questions or comments with respect to that? All those in favor? None opposed, that is carried. That then takes us to you, Councillor Luberts, with respect to an appointment to the Crystal Beach Beautification Committee.
Yes, thank you very much, Mayor Redekop. Moved by myself and seconded by Councilor McDermott. That council appoints Valerie Forbes to the Crystal Beach Beautification Committee for the period ending November 30th, 2018.
Are there any questions or comments? All those in favor? None opposed, that is carried. Items D and E, Mr. Cookett, I understand that there are no resolutions with respect to those, and is there an explanation for that?
Yes, I'll speak to both those memos that are on the agenda tonight. They're there for information purposes only. The first one speaks to the Mr. Compson property. There's 3 options that are in that memo. We will provide a admin report in the future for council to discuss and make a decision on those. And there's the second memo is about park recycling. The memo speaks to funding opportunities at the region. Once we make application and there's a determination on if we will be getting funding, we'll bring back a recommendation report on that memo as well.
Thank you. Now we're at inquiries or other new business. Councillor Zanko and then Councillor Nutt.
Thank you, Your Worship. Through you to Mr. Walsh. Previously, and with regard to the Transit Committee notes, I had inquired with regard to a stop on Buffalo Road on Nye. I know that Mr. Walsh, the mayor, had mentioned that the notes will be coming June 18th, but because there is safety concern from residents, I wondered if possible, if you could let me know what the outcome was.
Mr. Walsh.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, thank you. Transit Advisory Committee discussed this matter just last Thursday. The request to move the stops is not supported by the committee, who feel more that it's a school bus issue rather than a Fort Erie Transit issue.
I think just to put a little bit more of a nuance to that, the committee members thought that it was more likely that it was school buses as opposed to the municipal bus. However, that's something that I believe there's going to be some follow-up on, is there not? I thought there was going to be some follow-up to ensure that that in fact is correct. And since Councillor Butler is shaking her head, she heard the same thing I heard, or was left with the same impression. So there will be some follow-up on that.
Okay, and just further to that, I have taken it upon myself to contact the daycare location and confirm with residents that it is in fact the transit. So I do look forward to the further comments that come back.
Okay, so the issue is driveways being blocked.
Yes.
So there would be one driveway closest to the intersection?
Well, the issue is that the driveways are being blocked by not only the childcare facility buses, but also the transit system. More so, the issue is there's about 50 people that get off at that stop. I've confirmed that about 3 go to the childcare facility and the rest of the riders go to the Native Center. So there's a couple different issues with the request that the stops moved.
And is it the, just for clarification for the committee's benefit, is it the Native Friendship Center or the daycare facility that are concerned about their driveways being blocked? Or is this a private
It's
residential?
residents. It's residents that are in more of the consolidated area towards the end, towards Nye Road. Their roads are being blocked. It's a safety concern for them.
And is that north of Nye Road on Buffalo or south?
And south.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Nutt.
Thank you, Your Worship. Through you to Mr. Walsh. On May 7th, while you were on vacation, Mr. Walsh, I had spoken to Mr. Marr, who was filling in for you, and had sent him a list of roads that I was waiting for follow-up on. And first off, I want to thank you and the roads crew for doing a great job on Teal Road, fixing it up. I drove down that road on my way to council today, and it's much improved. And I just want to say thank you very much to you and the staff for getting out there, getting it done, a job well done. But I'm still waiting on information for Burger Road from Church Road heading south on Burger Road to Bowen Road. The road is in really bad condition there. Sunset Road North from Bowen Road North to Karen's Crescent. From Bowen Road West from Stevensville Road to Ott Road.
Mr. Walsh, can you respond to any of those right now, or did you want to?
Mr. Mayor, I can't respond right now. Councillor Nutt has given me a comprehensive list there. I assume those roads are listed in the minutes from May 7th?
They are, yes.
The clerk is, okay. So I'll review those and we'll get back to you.
Okay, thank you very much.
Mr. Mayor, if I may, is the councillor looking for resurfacing or patching, or pothole address?
So they've been addressed pothole wise. It's just that the fill in the potholes is not lasting. Every time it's raining, it's getting washed out, et cetera. Over time, it's obviously going. The citizens just are asking what can be done. So at this point, continuously filling the potholes is something we've been doing, but they're looking for, in your expert opinion, what would be the best kind of short-term solution until they understand. I've pointed them to the infrastructure, the 10-year plan on roads and everything. But really, they're looking for something a little more robust than continuous pothole fulfillment.
All right, noted. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anything further, Councillor Nutt?
Yes, I had a question come in about sidewalks and reviewing the sidewalk repair list that was up on the website. I had some residents inquire about the west side of Stevensville Road from the corner of West Main to, I'm going to say where Carver is. Roughly, the sidewalk is old and disjointed. And they were wondering, because it's not on the 2-year plan. They were wondering when it's up for replacement.
Mr. Mayor, our staff are undertaking our annual sidewalk review right now. With the change in minimum maintenance standards with respect to sidewalks, it's a much more comprehensive review that we undertake now. With respect to the sidewalk that Councillor Nutt has referred to, I can't give him an answer right now, but upon completion of our review, I can give you a more substantial answer as to when it will be repaired or replaced.
Thank you, Mr. Walsh. Is that acceptable?
That's acceptable, yep.
Okay.
Thank you. One last thing.
Sure.
And I had a few calls from residents in the West Main area, and they were asking if we could contact CN and ask about the train whistles. It's my understanding they're only supposed to be blown 3 times, but I'm a very heavy sleeper, and it woke me up, so it had to be in excess of, I'm thinking, probably 8 or 9 whistle blows.
You can contact the railway companies, Mr. Walsh. Just bring that to their attention.
Yes, we will.
Thank you.
And just one last point, Your Worship. I just want to thank Mr. Walsh for being very diligent and his staff for being diligent as the rail crossings at East, Winger, Cider, Pettit are much improved, and we want to thank the staff for continuing to keep on top of CN with regards to the repairs getting done.
Thank you, Councillor Nutt. I'm sure that's appreciated. And are those level crossings completed now?
Well, they are, so you can
Perfect.
do your Dukes of Hazzard jump down across the railway there.
So it won't be as exciting,
No.
fortunately.
No. Oh, Mr. Walsh, one thing I did want to bring to your attention too is I'm not sure if it occurred during the construction at the East Avenue rail line, but the 50-mile-per-hour sign is bent and pushed over, and I think maybe it accidentally might have been a victim of some of the work going on there.
Noted, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Luberts, and then Councillor Butler.
Yes, thank you very much, Mayor Redekop. I just need to get some clarification from our clerk and our discussion earlier in the disruption that was caused during this meeting. And if I disrupted any of the other members of council, I apologize. But Madam Clerk, I brought forward a motion, and in my opinion, it wasn't dealt with properly. I wasn't asked for a seconder, and so I requested that my motion be dealt with according to the rules of procedure. And obviously, you were here and you heard the disruption. And I would just like some clarification, and I would like to know if a councillor, is he out of line when he asks the mayor or the chair, any chair of any meeting, to follow the rules of procedure? My motion, as far as I'm concerned, wasn't dealt with properly. That is outside the rules of procedure, and in my opinion, that's out of order. So, Madam Clerk, if you could
Okay,
clarify
first of
all
all-
that with me, and thank you very much, Mayor Redekop, but I would prefer that I'm not interrupted as well.
That's fair
Madam
enough.
Clerk, if you could, thank you very much.
So you know that you have to direct your questions through the chair, not directly to the clerk. And I'm going to rule that your inquiry is out of order. It's not fair to put the clerk in that position to comment on a ruling made by the chair.
Well, Mayor Redekop, then let me ask you what you think about the rules of procedure, because you're the one that violated them.
Do you have any other inquiries, Councilor?
No,
Luberts?
obviously, I can't get an answer. Thank you very much, Mayor Redekop.
No, you can get an answer, you just don't like the answer. Councilor Butler? Councilor Butler and
Thank
then
you.
Councilor Passero.
Thank you, Your Worship. Through you to Mr. Walsh, I had a couple of inquiries from residences on Nye Road with respect to the long grass and the tick infestation that is occurring in that area. Just wondering, when are we scheduled for cutting?
Mr. Walsh?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, roadside mowing is underway as we speak. Our ditches are cut 4 times per year. With respect to the location in particular, I can't give you an exact answer on that.
Perhaps you can check who's doing the cutting, Mr. Walsh, and get back to Councilor Butler.
Yes, I will.
Thank you. And I just have a couple of other things. I wondered if you could, through you,
Yes.
Your Worship, to Mr. Walsh, thank Mr. Hutton for us from the Ridgeway BIA because he moved up the schedule with respect to the splash pad in the village square because I think he realized that it was going to be a hot weekend and the kids did enjoy it. There were some technical problems and your team acted very quickly today to rectify that, so it is up and running very nicely, so thank you for that. And then I just have one more question through you, Your Worship, and I don't know, perhaps you can direct this to the right person, but over the weekend, the Ridgeway BIA, that they rock, by the way, we all got together and we planted all the flowers in the village square and up and down Ridge Road. It looks beautiful right now, but I'm just wondering, is there a possibility in the future to have the town take that over, or is there a reason why the RBIA is responsible for that task?
Take over planting flowers in the downtown business area.
Yes, and the maintenance of that and watering as well.
Mr. Cookett.
Through your worship to the councillor, unfortunately, that is one of the responsibilities of the BIA is to plant the flowers, beautify the downtown core areas. We don't have the resources, both staffing and financially, to do the works. And if we did it for one area, we'd have to do it for multiple areas. So unfortunately, it's up to the BIA to look after that.
Okay, thank you. I guess if we funded through all the BIAs, it could create one full-time job, wouldn't it? Thank you.
Anything further, Councillor Butler? Councillor Passero.
Thank you, Your Worship. A couple months ago, Council, and I thank them for this, passed my motion that we commence going down the path of a strategy for the Kinsman Pool replacement. So I'm hoping tonight that I can direct staff for the first phase, and that would be to provide Council a scope of work and a fee for a consultant to proceed with the community consultation and engagement process in the preparation of designs of a new outdoor aquatic facility, and also that they bring back identification of funding sources for that study for council's deliberation.
So you'll have to refresh my memory. I know that there was something put on the floor before relative to this.
Yeah.
I don't know whether this is a follow-up to that or whether this
This is
would
the
require.
same, but what I wanted to do was bring it forward tonight just to officially commence that process. We did adopt this, but staff are asking me to bring it forward tonight because it does involve money and the request of staff to come back with the identification of funds.
Okay, so Mr. Jansen, does that go to you or does this go to Mr. Walsh? Or which?
I think it's
member of
Mr.
staff?
Brady and Signier leading the charge on this one. And if I could just,
So
can I speak
Mr.
to that?
Sure.
Just very
Yeah,
briefly,
perhaps you
Your
could give us
Worship.
a little bit more information.
Yeah, so the reason why we're bringing it as identification of funding sources and the reason we didn't include this in the capital budget is it's been identified that because this study would go towards a potential new facility, Jonathan and Rick have identified that 90% of the study cost could be paid for through DC charges, which is why we didn't bring it forward through capital. And the other 10%, Mr. Brady has identified as he has within his planning budgets. But he would like us to formally request that he bring that back to council.
Okay, so Mr. Jansen, even if it was being funded primarily by development charges, why wouldn't it be part of a budget request?
Yeah, I would have to seek a little bit more information on that, but typically that does sound like a project that we would want to make an amendment to our capital budget, but we can talk further after this.
All right, so at this stage of the game, you've now put this on you put this before council, and staff now is going to be looking at the costing, and Mr. Cook, you're shaking your head, you're familiar with this?
To you, Your Worship, we had some preliminary discussions during the budget process. What I would suggest at this point is the councillor make a request that we provide a report to come back to council, and that the majority of council vote on that this evening and give us clear direction.
Okay, and my recollection is that when we dealt with this before, there were some time frames that were included in the resolution at that point.
Yes.
And so you're simply following that up?
Yes.
All right.
Yeah, so if I could request that report to encompass what we just spoke of, but because it does involve staff time as a resource, I did want to bring that before council, and hopefully I could have a seconder to put that on the
Yep.
floor.
Seconder, Councillor Zanko?
Thank
Okay, are there any questions or comments with respect to this? So the resolution is,
The resolution is that council directs staff to bring back a report which would identify a fee and scope of work for a consultant to proceed with a community consultation and engagement process in the preparation of designs for a new outdoor aquatic facility, and that report also identify funding sources for the study.
okay, everyone's clear on that? Any questions or comments? All those in favor? Opposed, that is carried. You still have the floor, Councilor Passero. Any other inquiries or new business? Okay, anyone else? That then takes us to motions, and I have a motion. I wonder if I could give the chair to you again, Councillor Butler. And proceed with my motion.
You may.
Thank you. I move, seconded by Councillor Nutt, that planning staff investigate in consultation with the Environmental Advisory Committee and report to council on possible bird-friendly mitigation measures for consideration in the planning and development process.
That motion is on the floor. Do any of the council members have any comments or questions? And Mr. Your Worship, would you like to speak to it further beforehand?
Sure, just as we were going through the Harbour Town development process, it seemed that a number of the individuals that addressed us were concerned about the birds, migratory birds, mitigation measures to protect them. This is an issue that is applicable not just at Harbour Town, it's applicable along the waterfront, and it's also applicable in other areas of the municipality, so that the Environmental Advisory Committee, as you will recall, not only made some recommendations with respect to the birds at Harbour Town, but also a couple of parcels of property at Point Avenue and one on Dominion. And so without a framework, it's not really helpful for them to be making recommendations because we don't know whether they're within, without, what have you. It's been there have been some meetings, some information, background information provided by members of EAC, and so they seem to be supportive of this. I'm confident they're supportive, and I would hope that council will be supportive as well.
Thank you, Mayor Redekop. Any members of councilors, questions or comments? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor? That motion is carried.
Thank you. Thank you. That then takes us to Councillor Passero, your motion, and you indicated that you wish to defer this.
Yes, Your Worship. I'd like to postpone this until our meeting of June 18th.
Thank you. Madam Clerk, I'm quite content with that. Is there any problem from your perspective? Okay, so then that item is deferred to June the 18th. And there are no other motions. Are there notices of motion? Councillor Passero, you had indicated that you had a notice of motion with respect to stormwater management pond?
Yes, Your Worship. This is concerning the stormwater management pond being located north of Albany Street, bounded by Albert and Nancy. And it would be that, if feasible, staff direct that the amount be increased, the amount of space between the property line on the eastern boundary and the service driveway be increased. Secondly, that a landscaped buffer is created between the eastern property line and the service driveway, with a priority on eliminating sight lines into Nancy Street resident properties. In addition, that we close the access point planned from Nancy Street and remove the corresponding sidewalk, which extends from Nancy Street to the stormwater management pond property line. That we extend the asphalt path around the entire perimeter of Phase 1, so it begins and terminates at Albany Street. And lastly, that we postpone the clearing of the remainder of the woodlots, the west side, until such time as the stormwater management pond additional phases are necessary. And I would put that on the, as a notice of motion to come back at our next regular council meeting.
Which is June the 18th.
Yes.
Councillor Nutt.
Thank you, Your Worship. Yes, I'd like to give notice of motion that I'll be bringing forward a motion to support the Township Baldwin's resolution to request the canceling of Bill C-71.
And returnable June the 18th.
Yes.
Thank you. Any other notices of motion this evening? Councillor Zanko?
Thank you, Your Worship. I'd like to bring notice of motion regarding changing the bus stop for the transit route back to the location across from the Friendship Festival. The Native Center. That's where it's been in the past. It's a historical location where people have caught the bus. We've never had any complaints or safety concerns. So I think it just makes sense to make notice of motion for that change.
Sure, that's fine. And that's, again, returnable June 18th?
Yes, please.
Thank you. Any others? If not, then that takes us to consideration of bylaws. Does anyone wish any of the bylaws removed from the package other than 74, 2018, which I'd like removed. And the reason for that is Councillor Zanko brought forward a motion relative to dogs and pets in weather conditions, in vehicles, hot, cold, what have you. Somehow the SPCA and our bylaw enforcement people were able to expand the bylaw and without a process. So I've spoken to the clerk about this, and probably the easiest way to deal with this bylaw, 74-2018, would be to pass it, but subsections 19A, C, D, E, and F not come into force until, in effect, until June the 19th, which would be the day after our next regular council meeting. That way, and we would publish notification of the passage of this bylaw, so that if anyone wishes to speak about dogs being carried around in the back of pickup trucks, they can. Otherwise, there's been no process whereby we heard anything from the public. So I will be, when we get to that, asking someone to move to amend the bylaw to add that provision, if agreeable. But before we get there, are there any other bylaws that anyone wishes removed from the package? If not, Councillor Nutt, could you proceed with first and second reading of the bylaw package, less 74?
Certainly, Your Worship. Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Passero. The bylaw package containing 73-2018 to deem a certain registered plan of subdivision not be a registered plan of subdivision, Patrick Murray and Melanie McKim Murray for 328 Cherrywood Avenue, and 75-2018 to amend fees and charges bylaw number 40-09 as amended, Stevensville Memorial Hall rental, and 76-2018 to authorize the entry into the execution of a service agreement with BTS Network, Inc. for the provision, maintenance, and operation of specialized transit service in Toronto, transit service in the town of Fort Erie, is given first and second reading.
Thank you. All those in favor? And opposed? That is carried. That bylaw package as amended is on the floor for any questions or comments. If none, Councillor Nutt, would you proceed then with third and final reading?
Certainly. Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Passero, that bylaws 73-2018, 75-2018, 76-2018 are given third and final reading to be signed by the mayor and the clerk under the corporate seal.
Are there any questions or comments? All those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. Okay, Councillor Nutt, I wonder if you could put bylaw 74-2018 on the floor for first and second reading.
Certainly. Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Passero, that 74-2018 to amend dog regulation bylaw number 119-97 as amended to regulate, restrict, and prohibit the keeping and running at large dogs in the town of Fort Erie.
All those in favor? And opposed? That is carried. Would anyone like to move that we add a provision to the bylaw so that section 19A, C, D, E, and F shall come into force and effect on June 19th, 2018? Councillor Passero,
Yes, Your Worship.
seconded by Councillor Zanko. Are there any questions or comments about that amendment? All those in favor? Unopposed? That is carried. So can we proceed then with third and final reading of the bylaw as amended? Councillor Nutt.
Certainly, Your Worship. Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Passero, that 74-2018 as amended is given third and final reading to be signed by the mayor and the clerk under the corporate seal.
Are there any questions or comments? Councillor Zanko.
Thank you. Just a comment with regard to that amendment. I did speak with bylaw, and they'd asked if I would be comfortable to include this. And there has been residents that have actually been attacked by dogs that have been in the back of trucks and have ran off. So I just wanted to note that they didn't just include this. They did speak with me first.
No, and I think the memo was quite clear that they had spoken to you and that they'd also spoken to the SPCA.
Yes.
Presumably there have been some concerns raised. One wouldn't think that it would be safe for the dogs, even if you're just concerned about the dogs. So that's fair enough. It's just that there should be a public process.
I agree.
Okay. So the bylaw as amended is on the floor. If there are any other questions or comments? All those in favor of the bylaw as amended? That is carried. Counselor McDermott, you have the next resolution regarding the confirmatory bylaw.
Thank you, Your Worship. Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Butler, that bylaw number 77, 2018, to confirm the actions of council at its meeting held on May 28, 2018, is given first and second reading.
All those in favor? None opposed, that is carried. Counselor Zanko, you have third and final reading.
Yes, moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Nutt, that bylaw number 77-2018 is given third and final reading to be signed by the mayor and the clerk under the corporate seal.
Are there any questions or comments? All those in favor? None opposed, that is carried. That takes us to scheduling of meetings. Counselor Butler.
Thank you, Your Worship. There is a Ridgeway Business Improvement Association meeting on Wednesday, June 6th, 2018 at St. Luke's, I think it's called, church.
Yep.
Thank you. Oh, it's 6.
Any other meetings?
5:15.
5:15, sorry. Counselor Luberts.
Yes, thank you very much, Mayor Redekup. We have an environmental advisory committee on Wednesday night, 5:30, and conference room 3.
That's May the 30th, this Wednesday? Yeah. Any other meetings? Counselor Passero.
Two announcements, if I could, Your Worship. The first is regarding our much-anticipated Party on the Patio
Yes.
event, which due to a scheduling conflict that we cannot get out of, we tried, but we can't. We are going to move it to Saturday, September 8th. So for those who have their tickets, please keep them. If there is anybody that cannot make the rescheduled date, please see either Councillor Butler, Councillor Zanko, or myself. But we're looking forward to the same event, just different date, a little bit more anticipation and a little bit more nerves as we get closer. And secondly, Your Worship, if I could mention, this year marks the 50th year of operation for the Kinsman Pool. So in that vein, I'm happy to announce that it will be open once again, and we will be accepting our first intake of swimming lesson registrations at the community room of the Centennial Library this Saturday, June 2nd, from 10:30 a.m. to 1 p.m. And this will be folks' first opportunity to get their spots for lessons this summer at the pool. And we will have other opportunities as the month of June progresses.
Great, congratulations.
Thank you.
Counselor Nutt and then Counselor Zanko.
Thank you, Your Worship. This Saturday is the annual Spring Fest for the Kinsmen Canettes of Stevensville out at Memorial Hall between 10 a.m. and 4 p.m. I just want to reiterate the opening of the track tomorrow and the free trees on Saturday as well. I know we talked about it at the beginning of the meeting, but this meeting's been so riveting, I want to bring it back up to people's
Thank you. Did you say that the Spring Fest goes from 10 a.m. until
4 p.m.
4? I thought I saw something about a breakfast prior to that.
There's usually
That's the firefighters.
the firefighters do the breakfast.
Yeah, I think that was at 8. Okay, Counselor Zanko.
Thank you. I want to confirm this meeting is still taking place, but we do have an infrastructure committee meeting on Wednesday, May the 30th at 5 p.m. I'm just not sure if that's been rescheduled in light of.
Mr. Walsh, do you know about the meeting?
I know about the meeting, Mr. Mayor, thank you. It's still on the docket, but if the councilor wishes to cancel it, I'm sure staff wouldn't mind.
Thank you.
We'll go. Okay. Any other meetings? Counselor Nutt.
Thank you, Your Worship. Almost slipped my mind, but the Waverly Beach Ad Hoc Committee is meeting on Friday morning at 10 a.m.
That is that June the 1st?
Yes, that is June the 1st.
Is that here?
That is correct.
Okay. Any other meetings? And Counselor Nutt, you have the final resolution.
Yes, thank you, Your Worship. Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Passero, that council adjourns at 7:34 p.m. to reconvene in a regular meeting of council on June 18th, 2018.
All those in favor? It's unanimous. Thank you.
My complexion won't allow us to eat.
Right.